Warning, this podcast contains dry humor and sarcasm not suitable to those who can't take a fucking joke. Listener discretion is advised.
Welcome to episode 11 of AntiSocialMurderClub. Welcome. It's episode 11. We're back at it again.
We have a special guest today.
Yes.
Hi, Miss Ashley.
Ashley. We talked about her a few times on other episodes. She is a friend and guest to the
That
podcast.
was the dead body she dragged in.
Yeah. We needed
Hitting
it
the
for
floor. Exactly.
What is it? Authenticity?
Yeah, the
Bodies hit the floor. Let the bodies hit the floor. Yeah, so look at us. We're doing 2 episodes in a row. No skips.
Yeah, no skips.
No skips this time, you know?
So this week we have a very special episode, I think.
Wait, you're skipping things.
What are we skipping?
We did not check up on each other.
Oh, bitch, I've seen you all week.
That's every week.
You're good.
That is every week.
I'm good, you're good.
We're live, we're here. How was your week, Nia?
It was rather lonely in my cube by myself because Myra was working on the project and wouldn't talk to me.
I was off for 2 days, too.
Yeah, she left me. I hate when they do that.
I had business to take care of, if you know what I mean.
I don't know what you mean.
That body you just drove.
Could have been anything.
I thought she was talking about something else.
You're nasty.
You weren't the only one who took off. I'm just saying.
We didn't see each other. Anyways, Ashley, how was your week?
I had no business to pertain to. So a little bit less, not as good as yours.
Alrighty then. Well, I guess we know how my week was.
Yeah, so this week we're hitting up another...
One of our faves, right?
Yes, this is my first exposure to serial killers, actually.
Ooh, shout out.
It was my mom. My mom was watching it, and I was in a room, and I was like,
What's this?
serial killer? Tell me more.
Does it have to do with cereal?
I literally thought it had to do with cereal. Like, I'm not even gonna lie. But yeah, she's the first exposure to any of these type of cases. So, we are doing...
Of course we're talking about Mr. Jeffrey Dahmer. Dun, dun, dun. The little horns.
Yes.
Yeah, so we're finally doing Jeffrey Dahmer. Pause. This case was wild. Mm-hmm. Per usual. I feel like I knew everything, but it's always like good to refresh your mind and read, you know.
Did you learn some new facts that you didn't know?
Not really. I feel like I knew everything already.
Well, this,
like I've watched so many shows.
Yeah, this is the go. It has so many different shows and movies. It's like
and like spin-offs, and it's
Yeah.
like I feel like every other like podcast or true crime show touches on like Dahmer. I feel like
bit,
Dahmer
yeah.
is like up like you have to beat him in order to be like
Dahmer's the GOAT. Dahmer's the GOAT of serial
exactly.
killers.
Which like we're not trying to praise him, but
No.
kinda. I don't know. I feel like reading this, I was just like, you know what?
You did okay. You did okay, Dahmer.
I'm kind of sad he's dead. Okay. So, Mr. Jeffrey Lionel Dahmer. Lionel?
I don't think I knew that.
Yeah, neither did I.
Wow.
It's his dad's name. Was born May 21st, 1960, and he's also known as this I didn't know actually. He's known as the Milwaukee Cannibal or the Milwaukee Monster.
Yep, never knew that.
Exactly. He's known for raping, murdering, and dismembering 17 men and boys from 1978 to 1991, which is like a long time. This case involves necrophilia, cannibalism, and preservation of body parts.
This is kind of like the last one we did last week. I didn't realize both of them had necrophilia.
You'll see where some things overlap with Mr. Kemper.
And Kemper.
So we'll start off with his childhood, as we usually do. So as a child, Dahmer was kind of set to the side, not necessarily like abandoned or completely neglected, but he definitely didn't get as much attention as a child probably needs. His father, Lionel, is it Lionel or Lionel?
Lionel?
I don't know. I knew someone named Lionel, and it was spelled the same way, so I don't know.
Well, whichever. He was in school for most of young Dahmer's childhood, finishing his degree plus working, which meant he spent long hours outside of the house. And then Dahmer's mother, Joyce, was known to be tense and greedy for attention. And she was up for arguing at any time, whether it be with her husband or neighbors. And this is like one interesting thing. There are claims that his mother found breastfeeding to be exhausting and irritating and refused to do it. So it's like she kind of wanted, she didn't want anything to like do with her son.
Sounds like Kemper's mom, how she didn't want to coddle him because she thought it was going to turn him gay.
At least she paid some sort of attention to him. So in first grade, Joyce, Dahmer's mother, began to spend an increasing amount of time in bed recovering from weakness, which I can assume is like a ploy for attention, because it's not like they didn't explain that she had any illnesses or anything like that. It just seems like since the dad was out of the house, she needed something to do so that he would pay attention to her. She reportedly worked herself into a state of anxiety, and on one occasion she attempted suicide from a pill overdose, and she had been prescribed pills to treat anxiety, and she was, of course, abusing them.
So do you think that was a real attempt or like another...
I feel like it was another ploy.
Attention.
Yeah, I feel like she was just doing everything for attention. And attention from Dahmer's dad, not necessarily like her child who needs her. Obviously, Dahmer's parents had pretty serious issues they were dealing with as a couple, as well as individually. He would later recall his early years of family life as being of extreme tension, which he noted between his parents, whom he observed to be constantly arguing with each other, and didn't leave much time to tend to young Dahmer. So, as a youngin', Dahmer was described as an energetic and happy child, but shortly after his 4th birthday, he underwent a double hernia surgery, at which point he went from a happy-go-lucky kid to a quiet and timid one. So he completely changed. He did like a 180. Surgery. Yeah, which is
something
wild.
Happened to him while he was in the hospital.
And like they didn't really say where the hernia was.
But it's in those situations, it's really easy to like lose oxygen to the blood and like little things like that could make a situation that he already had worse.
That's true.
Really sad to know.
That's true. Or maybe like also if his parents didn't pay attention to him, they might have just left him in the hospital. And he just wanted his mommy, and his mommy wasn't there.
Mommy wasn't there.
So one teacher described Dahmer as a reserved child whom she sensed felt neglected, which was on point. But even though he was reserved and communicative. There you go. In grade school,
that's why I she's here. She pronounces words.
I'm trying not to look at her. I don't want to see her face when she's judging me.
All you would see is me say,
with like little pronunciation signs. So Dahmer did have a small group of friends growing up. He wasn't completely like a loner. From an early age, Dahmer manifested an interest in animals. It started innocently enough. He collected large insects like dragonflies and butterflies. He placed them into jars, and eventually it escalated into collecting roadkill. And he was occasionally accompanied by his friends while doing this. He dismembered the carcasses either at his home or behind the house. Dahmer would store the parts in jars in a tool shed, always explaining that he was curious as to how each animal fit together. Kind of like, I feel like he was creating animal zombies. In one instant, he decapitated a carcass of a dog before nailing the dog's body to a tree. He then impaled the skull of the dog on a stake beside a wooden cross behind his house. Dahmer's fascination with dead animals might have begun when, at the age of 4, he noted his father removing animal bones from beneath the family home. According to the elder Dahmer, his son was oddly thrilled by the sound the bones made, which is just like, what the fuck? Yeah.
If my child was thrilled by the sounds of bones, he would get out my fucking house. Like, I'm calling therapy. I'm calling.
You gotta notice the behavior first.
Fuck therapy. I'm calling a goddamn adoption agency. You get this damn child out my house. I'm not
Nia.
doing this shit.
Judge Nia, please, everyone.
All right, fine. So then when your son starts storing bodies in the closet, like
no,
Kimber,
because I'll stop my son from doing it and help him. Or be like,
love him early enough.
Or Dexter's father, who like trained him to.
Give him a set of rules.
Exactly.
Yeah, that would be me also.
See, Neo, we love our children.
I love mine too, but
abandoning them. Okay,
be murdered by my child or get rid of them.
What if he doesn't murder you though?
40% chance. Those are good odds.
So his son was oddly thrilled by the sound of bones and instantly developed a fixation with playing with and collecting animal bones. He occasionally searched beneath and around the family home for additional bones. With live animals, he explored their bodies to discover where their bones were located.
Whoa. He would cut open like live animals
like
while they were living?
I feel like that's what he did.
Bruh.
Which, like, looking back at it now, I feel like he'd be a great forensic anthropologist.
Oh.
Right? Like, looking on the bright side.
Yeah.
Like, if I would nurture, unlike Nia, if I had nurtured my child.
Listen, we all have a skill set.
Exactly.
It's just how we use it.
Like, switch the focus here.
Yeah.
So in 1968,
Killed a few people, but he was really good.
look, he was on his way. He was on his way to it. I feel like if we just put some more. No.
If he had skipped the killing people stage
Yeah,
of his
we
life,
should have just like diverted.
would have had a fantastic
Should have had him intern at like a veterinary office or like with
definitely
an
would've been-
embalmer.
Yeah, or like a museum or something like that. Yeah.
Okay.
There was also necrophilia involved. You already said that.
Oh, shit.
No, we're not gonna let him.
Well,
get the
they're
mummies.
dead. No, I'm just kidding.
No. We're gonna just.
We're gonna get more angry.
Okay, let's. All right, so back to the story. In 1968, while having dinner, then 8-year-old Dahmer asked his father what would happen if the bones of the chicken were to be placed in a bleach solution. Which is like, how the fuck is he thinking of this as an 8-year-old?
Well, wasn't his dad was a chemist, right? Or that's what he was studying, chemistry.
Yeah, he finished with some sort of scientific
Oh,
degree
so maybe
or something
he
like that.
shared some things with him, just like Kemper's dad had to have shared some stuff with him about
like the war and all
right?
that?
Because how the hell did he think of to play those gas chamber games and things like that if his
That's
dad
true.
didn't talk? Like I feel like either the kids were overhearing their parents or their parents were telling them things.
What if his father was like
innocently,
a
but-
serial killer too? But no one connected the dots.
But just better at it.
Dun dun dun.
Or maybe he helped him. Or maybe Dahmer took the fall for his father.
I'd watch that movie.
Lifetime.
Yes. Contact my people will contact.
Okay, so his father had grown concerned about Dahmer's solitary existence. So unlike most parents, he was actually delighted at the scientific curiosity little Dahmer showed. He willingly demonstrated to his son how to safely bleach and preserve animal bones.
What?
This knowledge regarding the cleansing and preserving of bones was used by Dahmer on many of the animal remains, which he continued to avidly collect.
So okay.
Question.
Like, raise your hand. Teacher.
Now, me personally, I would not be teaching my child how to bleach no damn bones and shit. But I do understand that some people are into what is it called when they stuff roadkill and the animals and shit. And
Taxidermy.
Thank you. Some people are into taxidermy, and when you know what I mean by some people.
But that's not taxidermy, y'all.
But you have to completely clean all the stuff off of the bones
Yeah.
and stuff before you can put it up. So that's part of the process of taxidermy. How I know that is because I used to watch this show called Oddities or whatever, and they used to show how you do it.
Are you a serial killer?
No.
How do you think this body got here?
So
But
maybe
I still don't know. Like I don't know if I would allow my child to bleach bones.
No, I definitely would.
I definitely would not. But
I think I'd sit
Some
him down
people-
and be like, what's your plan? I feel like I just ask him like,
End goal
where's
here.
this going?
seat.
Yeah, like I feel like I would ask him, like, why not? Like, I'd rather him be completely honest with me and like know, like,
Well,
if he.
I mean, young 9-year-old, 10-year-old Dahmer is gonna say, "Mom, I'm thinking about killing some people."
But what if he did?
Bleaching their bones.
Like, maybe he didn't
keeping
trust
the
his
skulls for
mom,
later.
but I feel like if his dad would like open that door, like maybe he'd be like, "Hey, this is my curiosity" or something.
maybe he
and then you'd be like, "All right, little fucker, like, let's go to the shed for the next 10 years."
maybe he's just too young to know that that's what the connection was for him. I mean,
No, definitely-
Yeah, I feel like this
definitely
all
young.
obviously escalated, but I mean, I feel like there's so many red flags at this point. There's
There's
just
a lot
like
of red flags.
a lot. I feel like you could.
yeah.
But if the answer
like-
was like, "Oh, maybe I like to watch dead things dissolve into nothing. Like, oh, okay, let's go get you a doctor.
Exactly. Or it's like, why do you like dissecting like these?
Let someone else deal with you. All right, so let's get
a quitter.
Yes, I am.
She wants the easy way out.
So let's get into his Dahmer's teen years. So as a 14-year-old, he's about like a freshman in high school, something like that.
Yes, ma'am. I hope.
You could have got held back. Dahmer began exhibiting and distributing. Oh, sorry, distributing. He began exhibiting disturbing behaviors.
He began distributing behaviors.
As well, yes.
He was an outcast with very few friends.
Which is like us.
Yeah, I had the same friends since forever.
I have no friends.
No new friends. He also began smuggling beer and liquor into school by hiding it in the lining of his jacket. And once he got to school, he would hide it in his locker. So he would start drinking on his way to school, during class, and after school. One of his classmates saw him drinking gin out of a cup, and when asked why he was doing this, Dahmer simply replied, "It was my medicine."
I feel you on that, Dahmer, though. I mean,
my medicine.
I feel you as I sip this mimosa.
It made me feel like the party. What's the problem?
As a 14-year-old, what's wrong with that? In school.
Yeah.
I feel like maybe at that age, that's when he started getting those weird urges and shit, and he tried to suppress it by drinking alcohol.
Like killing urges or sexual urges or both?
Maybe both, because haven't we learned that they're connected?
This is true.
So around the same time, Dahmer realized that he was gay. Although he had never had sex, he was involved with another teenage boy for a short while. As he grew older, he started to have sexual fantasies that involved dominating and controlling a completely
submissive partner.
Thank you. Why can't I read today? So basically, he wanted to dominate and control a partner.
Yep.
Jeez, you figured this out in high school?
Right. Exactly. It's like, what is he being exposed to?
Looking at him on the bright side, most people don't find their kink until they're like 25.
If I say I'm well in my 30s, I just realized I'm into BDSM.
Is this really a kink?
I mean, before you're killing a person, yeah. Like, tie him up.
No kink shaming, Myra.
No
I kink the Exactly. Thank you, Ashley.
So gradually, these fantasies began to involve
dissection.
Thank you. Why?
And I'm assuming this is because he was probably like deriving some sort of pleasure while he was doing that to animals as a young kid. Because how does this cross together? Like, at what point?
Ew, so the first time he got aroused was when he was slicing open a piping hot roadkill.
Well, piping hot.
Exactly.
Maybe it was still warm. I don't know.
Like a vagina?
Exactly.
Ashley's face.
You can't see the face. You need to just know. Don't prove conversation.
So when Dahmer was about the age of 16, he became infatuated with a male jogger. Dahmer began to have rape fantasies about the jogger as he fantasized about rendering him unconscious and then using the unconscious body as he pleased it sexually, or it pleased him sexually. He planned to hide in the bushes with a baseball bat and wait until the jogger passed by to attack him. Dahmer actually attempted to carry out this plan and waited in the bushes, but on that particular day, as fate would have it, the jogger did not go by.
Which, imagine being that jogger like years later.
Reading about it later.
Exactly.
And
Like, wait,
like
what?
Random kid
in the bushes?
In the bushes. Like,
and it's like, he was like, yeah, I was looking outside, that bush was moving, so I decided not to go out that day. And then it turns out it was Dahmer hiding in the fucking bush.
Jesus Christ.
In 1977, Dahmer's parents started attending counseling to try to resolve their personal differences in an attempt to save their marriage. The counseling turned out to be unsuccessful, and they decided to get a divorce. The divorce started off amicable, but just like in the past, they began to argue all the time. And in the early 1978, Dahmer's dad moved out.
So wait, what time was it? He was still a teenager. It's like junior year, sophomore year. Does it say?
What do you mean?
How old he was
when the divorce was happening?
Oh, he's 18.
Oh, he's 18 when
he's 18.
Okay.
He just turned 18. It's 1978. He was born in 1960.
Math.
Math.
Yes.
Smart. The early summer of 1978, Dahmer's mom took their younger son and left the house, leaving Dahmer alone. And although he was 18 and legally an adult, I'm sure the abandonment of his mother and father who left him, not long before was hurtful.
If nothing else, it compounded over the
Exactly, because it's like you're abandoned over and over. And like he did have like that younger brother who was like, I feel like he's like 8 years younger than him or something like that. And I feel like they just had more attention towards.
Yeah, they probably favored him. So I'm sure all of those things probably triggered a lot of his future activities.
Exactly. So this is kind of when the killing season commences. So just weeks later and not long after his high school graduation, Dahmer committed his first murder. On June 18th of 1978, Dahmer picked up a hitchhiker, Stephen Mark Hicks, who was just 3 days shy of turning 19. He lured Hicks to his home on the pretenses of just drinking alcohol together. And after hours of drinking and listening to music, Hicks was ready to go, but Dahmer wasn't ready to let him go. So Dahmer picked up a 10-pound dumbbell and struck him twice in the back of the head. Once unconscious, Dahmer strangled Hicks using the bar of the dumbbell. He stripped the body and then jacked off over the body. The next day, Dahmer dissected Hicks' body in the crawl space, which is always the fucking crawl space. Every one of these cases, it's always the fucking crawl space.
Seriously.
It's the only place you.
I don't even know what a crawl space is, but it's always a crawl space.
It's the only place you can go to be private, Myra.
There's bathrooms.
He had the whole house to himself.
Thank you. His parents abandoned him.
He had space.
Lots of it. So he then buried the body in a shallow grave in his backyard. Several weeks later, he dug up the remains. He basically filleted the body, took the flesh off of the bones, dissolved the flesh in acid, and then flushed it down the toilet. He crushed the bones using a sledgehammer and scattered it in the woods behind his home, much like the roadkill when he was a child.
Jesus. So he's been practicing for years.
Yes. It's like it all led up to this, which is why I said if his dad just sat him down, he may have seen
like
this.
I said, you got to do all that shit to those animals when you do taxidermy. You have to remove all the muscles and all. I won't keep saying meat, like we're not eating, but all the muscles and stuff from the bones before you can.
I didn't know you removed the bones though.
Yep.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, you just like basically have like
I
the
literally
skin
thought, well,
stuff.
I don't know shit. I just literally thought they just stick like a wire up the ass or something.
So it's just like bones and organs in there?
I don't know.
So it doesn't decay. They have to like skin it.
I think I think
the
the bones still are in there. It's just like they take out the organs and
put it back
stuff.
in or something?
Well, they have to, they take it out and they kind of like put them back together. Like you know how like at the museum where you see like the dinosaurs, they put them, so they just put them back together.
Yeah.
And then they put the skin and whatever they use to stuff them.
Got it.
Yeah.
This is gross.
Oh, it just gets a lot worse.
Okay.
But
just
wait,
prepare.
there's more.
There's more, yes. So in 1979, at the age of 19, Dahmer enlisted in the U.S. Army. He trained as a medical specialist in San Antonio, and Dahmer served as a combat medic in West Germany. And then, this is like a side note, decades later, 2 men would come forward and claim that they were raped by Dahmer while serving with him in Germany. One victim reported being repeatedly raped by Dahmer over a 17-month period. And then the second one believed he was drugged and raped in an armored personnel carrier.
So Dahmer was in the army being a booty bandit?
Nia.
He was.
Nia.
I mean, he was taking it.
How?
So
For 17 months straight.
That's a long time. So
That's what I said.
Was he drugging both guys? Because he was not like a big guy. Like he was tall, but he was
like
strong,
6 foot.
right?
Actually, okay. Never mind. I'm not going to say. Okay, so he did look a little muscular in his pictures.
I know what you're about to say. And I've said it myself.
Anything.
I've said it myself, but it's okay.
You say it first.
What? That Dahmer actually was a good looking guy?
Yes, in his mugshot. He was very
He was actually a
handsome.
good looking guy, yeah.
In the later years, no.
In
early years,
let me
no.
correct something. When I said booty bandit, I did not mean like I don't mean this as a derogatory thing. I really just meant like he was taking people's butts.
Too late, you said it.
No, but I don't want anybody to think that I'm like putting down the gay
stopped
community.
listening after you said it.
Dare you.
They said, "Fuck this bitch." Her problematic views.
I wonder if he was like drugging like both of those guys because he likes them to have the complete dominance.
like-
Is what he said.
Damn. Okay, this is kind of
ahead,
this
bro.
is
Don't let me-
this
okay,
is kind of no. She's not skipping ahead.
She's not.
There's no more information on these, but it's like if you woke up like 3 times in a row and your ass hurts and you drink the same damn drink, maybe I'd stop drinking the damn drink.
That's problematic.
But it's like.
But you don't know, like, he could have been, like, putting stuff in his water bottle. Like, it's not like Don's like, hey, have this glass of juice, like, every other 2 weeks for 17 months.
As we see in later patterns, he kind of used the same concoction. So, 17 months is a long time. That's all I'm going to say. That's all I'm going to say.
That's a very long. Make your own meals after the second month.
Just, like,
at least.
leave.
But no, you can't. Don't. Stop. He is a victim.
I know, yes.
Okay, so
Okay.
You love the victims on this show.
yes, we do.
He is one of the victims. Yeah.
Okay, so on March 1981, Dahmer was deemed unsuitable for military service and was discharged from the army.
I wonder why.
He received, actually, honorable... Talk about being problematic.
Okay, yeah,
Talk about being problematic, Ashley.
Post my Instagram picture. I just want to apologize for the booty week.
An iOS apology.
Yes.
My notes.
Okay, so he was actually received honorable discharge since his superiors did not believe that any problems he exhibited while in service would be applicable to civilian life. So, how do you think they felt 10 years later?
All right. Civilian life. So, when Dahmer, this is all after he left, Dahmer spent some time in Florida. After being discharged, he continued to abuse alcohol and was eventually evicted from the motel he was living in for failure to pay. He returned to his hometown in Ohio and lived with his father and stepmother for some time until his heavy drinking got him in trouble with the police, and his father decided sending him to his grandmother's house in Milwaukee may be a good idea since his grandmother was the only person he showed affection to. Because, you know, grandmas are lit. So, in the beginning, things seemed to be turning around. He accompanied his grandma to church.
Wasn't even close.
I wasn't going to say nothing.
You need to go home.
We had mimosas, okay?
Yeah, she had a mimosa. Damn, you drunk me?
No, I just can't breathe. Damn.
She just said yes.
Way worse.
So in the beginning, things seemed to be turning around. He accompanied his grandma to church willingly and undertook chores and was actively sought work, although he continued drinking. In early 1982, Dahmer found a job as a phlebotomist at, I could say that word.
She practiced.
At the Milwaukee Blood and Plasma Center.
Don't see phlebotomist. I'm sorry, Nia. Love you.
No PH is pronounced F. Thank you. He was able to hold the job for 10 months, after which he was laid off and would remain unemployed for over 2 years, living off of his grandma's shmoney. Mm-hmm. In January of 1985, Dahmer was hired as a mixer at the Milwaukee Ambrosia Chocolate Factory. That's funny because Ambrosia is a dessert by itself.
That's what I was thinking.
So shortly after being hired, Dahmer experienced an incident that may have brought back his childhood fantasies of control and dominance. Yeah.
This isn't gonna be good.
Nope. While at a public library, a stranger threw Dahmer a note offering to give him toppy. And although he did not respond to the man's proposition, Dahmer started visiting the Milwaukee gay bars, bookstores, and bathhouses. It was also said that he stole a male mannequin and used it for sexual stimulation until his grandmother found it hidden in a closet where everybody seems to hide things.
Exactly.
And of course, demanded he get rid of it.
Which, I mean,
Can't blame her.
I would have thrown it out myself, but it was probably all crusty.
Ew. By the end of 1985, Dahmer was frequenting bathhouses. I didn't even know those were still a thing in 85, but
I didn't even know those were real. I thought it was like a myth.
It was like a old Roman, like
yeah, that's where they had like orgies.
in Milwaukee of all places. Sorry, Milwaukee. Sorry, I'm just gonna go.
He would become frustrated during sexual encounters when his parents would move.
Partners. He said parents.
Oh no! So fast, so words.
Okay, let me start this sentence again.
I'm sorry.
He would become frustrated during sexual encounters when his partners would move during the act. Also, he began to lace his partner's drinks with sedatives and then rape their unconscious bodies. After 12 of these incidents, the bathhouse revoked his membership.
Which is like, so they were hip membership? Was it like a gym membership?
So wait a minute, they were hip that he was doing this shit. That's why they took it.
No, they didn't. Exactly. No, I feel like the last person, like the last victim came out, and then everyone else started coming out afterward.
Oh, I was about to say, what the fuck?
I hope not. I'm trying to be positive here for once in my life.
So they just let it keep happening, and it was like this last one was too much.
They're probably like, well, this is a bathhouse.
Right.
It's in your membership contract.
I guess desperate times call for desperate measures, and after reading about an 18-year-old upcoming funeral, Dahmer planned to steal the corpse and take it home.
To show it a good time.
Oh, come on.
Show me a good time. Oh, yeah. So Dahmer actually attempted to carry the plan out, but found the soil to be too hard and changed his mind.
So he just wants you to be still. That's all he really wants.
But it's like,
you to stop moving.
I feel like now
there's a lot of lazy lovers out here that probably could have sat still for him.
And
I'm
I
saying.
feel like this is another situation. You found your kink. But just like you can just share that with your partners. Like,
he was probably embarrassed
still.
because, like, remember, he also didn't really voice the fact that he was homosexual.
And this was
kind of like he was
1980
fighting in Milwaukee.
In Milwaukee.
So everyone was just like, I feel like nowadays if you go on Craigslist and post an ad like, don't move,
You
don't
can literally
breathe,
say,
or
like,
let me drug you, have my way, and then we'll be fine. And I feel like it could happen nowadays. I feel like Dahmer would be in his element.
He wouldn't have had
today.
to kill people.
Exactly. Although the cannibalism and shit.
Well,
what
that
would
was some more
happen?
shit. We haven't, I don't think we've hit that yet. I
Oh,
don't
we will.
understand
We'll
what-
hit that spot real soon, Ashley.
Scratch your itch.
Oh my god.
All right, so now we'll get into the serial murders. So on November 20th, 1987, Dahmer rented a room at the Ambassador Hotel in Milwaukee and set out to a bar. He found 25-year-old Stephen Tuomi and persuaded him to go back to the hotel. Now, Dahmer would later claim that killing Tuomi was never actually the plan, and instead he just simply wanted to drug and rape him because that's, so much
That's
better.
all.
Exactly.
That's what I want to do.
Christ.
Well, when Dahmer woke up, he found Tuomi lying beneath him with his chest crushed and covered in black and blue bruises. So it kind of reminds me of like the MacArthur case where he used to sit on the victims and rape their throats. If y'all remember back a couple episodes.
Yo, yeah, we learned the correct term for that the last episode.
What's the correct term?
Is the term?
Remember when Kemper and we were like, it's fucking the faces, the real world is, it begins with an I.
Oh, irrimation.
Yes.
Irrimation. I was going to say irrigation, but that's definitely not it.
No, that's poking holes in the ground. Wait.
Well,
Wait.
is there a correlation here?
Maybe.
Dun, dun, dun.
Oh my god.
Okay.
The more you know.
So in his later confessions, once, he'd been caught and all that, Dahmer conceded that it was possible that seeing Tuomi's exposed chest may have led him to try and rip his heart out. And that's how he crushed his chest and all that.
Okay.
Yes. Dahmer's fists and forearm were extremely bruised, but he had no memory of what had happened. Remember, he was a severe alcoholic, so he was probably shit-faced. Not that's excusable, but I'm just saying. He placed Tuomi's body in a large suitcase and transported it to his grandma's house. One whole fucking week later, with rigor mortis in full effect, Dahmer decapitated the decomposing body, cut the arms and legs off, and in a later confession, Dahmer detailed how he would dismember the bodies. So Tuomi and everyone else's. He would put them in a bathtub, remove their internal organs, then suspend the torso so as to drain the blood, filleting the bones from the body, cut the flesh into small pieces, and then place the chunks inside plastic bags. He then wrapped the bones inside a sheet and pounded them with a sledgehammer. He did that to some of them, and to others, he would actually keep the whole skeleton. Which is very...
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
Like, just the skeleton.
Just the skeleton. Okay. The flesh was
like
always taken off.
Okay.
And it was usually, like, put into a solution to be, like, into jelly. And then he would just, like, pour it down the drain.
Okay.
Smart. So this process of dismembering Tuomi and all that took just 2 hours, which I would think would take me...
That's actually really efficient.
Very. I feel like I would throw up every 2 seconds, and it would take me like a whole day to do it.
Like, every time.
You just have like a bag attached to me.
Just dry heaving the whole time.
Dahmer then disposed of the pieces in the garbage, excluding the head, which reminds me of Ed Kemper.
Yeah.
And actually, so like I looked back into this while doing, because I was like, maybe they overlap. No. So Kemper actually came before Dahmer. Kemper was active during 1964 and 1973. So I wonder if Dahmer...
Read it somewhere?
Yeah.
Copycats.
Exactly. Because it sounds like very, like, why keep the heads? When it was like a very Kemperish thing to do.
Well, I'm sure you're probably going to do this, but Dahmer used to keep the skulls and stuff on a mantle.
That was later, with his later victims. It's more started off, I feel like, as just like...
I think.
Meh.
Yeah.
So, Dahmer held on... We'll get there. So Dahmer held on to Tuomi's head for another week. He kept it wrapped in a blanket, and he then proceeded to boil the head in Soilex, which was an industrial strength detergent, and bleach. He used what remained of the skull as stimulation for masturbation.
See, that's what I was getting to. I'm like, isn't that why you would keep the heads?
But did they not have like decorative freaking skulls in the Halloween stores back in the day?
Right. I can go on Etsy.
This is a lot more work.
I can go on Etsy and get one right now.
Exactly. How do you know it's not a human head?
I don't want
How
that.
do you know?
Because I think it's illegal to sell human parts in the
How would
United
they
States.
know?
She is questioning her whole life now. She's got like...
Guys, you should see Nia's face.
I just wish Myra would stop yelling at me. I'm just asking questions. I'm
getting very excited. All right, so
I'm having a great time.
Yes, I am. This is like... I was listening to Adele while researching this. It was like so relaxing.
Dahmer's the goat.
Yeah. Shout out Dahmer, miss you. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Oh my God. We're never going to be able to do another podcast after this.
All right, well, that bleach solution that he boiled the head in made the skull brittle, and so Dahmer had to pulverize it. The murder of Tuomi opened Pandora's box, in a sense, and Dahmer began actively seeking victims, taking them to his grandma's house, always drugging them, sexually abusing their unconscious bodies, before strangling them to death.
Where is grandma?
I feel like grandma might be deaf. You have to be.
Oh, you gotta at least be.
Well, they're unconscious, so it's like they don't make noise.
But she can't hear him using a sledgehammer?
Maybe he did it in the... Yeah.
Well, he said he looked at it like
what if she was deaf and he took her hearing aids?
That's so fucked up. He'll just turn them down. She wouldn't even know.
Oh my God.
Take the battery out.
Oh my God.
So fucked up.
We're going to hell.
So we've offended Milwaukeeans, older people,
deaf people.
Let's keep
the
a list.
dead.
The dead in general, which is ridiculous for this show.
Rape victims.
Rape victim.
Oh yeah, I didn't mean to do that.
We're sorry.
We're just gonna do a blanket apology here.
We'll
keep a running list for later. Yeah.
We'll address this in the end. Maybe. Okay, so my question here is, since they were drugged, like while being raped and all that, and actually like killed because they were still drugged, do you think they felt anything? Like, is it... Because, like, if you drug someone...
It's true. Did they say what kind of drug? What kind
he would usually use, like, sleeping pills. Like, a lot of them.
That's, like, unconscious if you...
But, like, if you're unconscious, are you still able to feel pain?
I don't know.
Have someone research this?
Well, I know a lot of girls that tell their story about being, like, date raped and how they get the pills in them. And a lot of them say that they can feel everything, but they almost can't move. It's almost like being in, what is it, that sleep
apnea?
Yeah, or the sleep paralysis.
Oh, no. Sleep apnea is when you almost
can't
die in your
breathe.
sleep. Damn. I don't know why I'm loud and proud.
Am I pronouncing
totally
it
wrong.
Yeah, sleep
Paralysis?
Yeah. So I feel like it's something like that, or like how when people go under the knife when they get surgery, and those people who claim they can feel everything, but they just couldn't move. So I'm wondering if it's like that, or maybe you just come in and out. It's like sometimes you can feel it, sometimes you can't.
I have so many questions.
Because you can feel stuff. You don't feel stuff in your sleep sometimes.
Yeah, but I feel like it's different. Like when you take a pill.
Oh, well, I've never taken a sleeping pill.
But I have heard that like people who take pills, like they try and wake up, but they just can't. So maybe it's like you are conscious.
I've taken sleeping pills before, and it's literally just like consciousness and then unconsciousness.
Damn.
And then like when you're waking up, though, it's like, you know, grogginess, just like being asleep, but it's not like just straight up like knowing that you're awake but can't move your body. It's just like aggressively falling asleep.
All right, someone take a sleeping pill and I'll poke you.
I'll be right back.
I'm a little afraid of that because I would be scared like when somebody comes in your house or something.
Exactly.
You're not gonna hear it. I just like I'm gonna sleep through it, so it don't even matter.
Listen, I gotta get my 8 hours. I don't know. I have a guard cat. Fine, I'm good.
Okay. That was gonna look at you like,
You haven't met my cat. She's
Shouldn't
really
I
mean. She's really aggressive.
Lily is mean.
should be like, I'm trying to take in that pill.
Shout out to you, Lily.
But no, you can wake up though. Like it doesn't like knock you out, but if you give too much, you probably, I don't know.
That's what I'm saying.
And it's probably like a
he would
different
give like
grade,
7.
like a Z-Quil that you can get at a grocery store. He's probably doing something else.
We'll try this out tomorrow. We'll let y'all know.
Nia volunteers.
No, I didn't.
So just 2 months after murdering Twommy, Dahmer ran into 14-year-old James Doxtator, who was a Native American sex worker. He lured him to his house on the pretenses of paying him to pose for some nudes. He would then kill and dismember/dispose of Doxtator's remains in the same way he did Twommy.
Dahmer did that with a lot of his victims. Told him he was going to take pictures
Oh,
of
yeah.
them. Because
That was like one of his, like, yeah.
things.
Or like be like, yeah, I'll give you $50 to like just spend the night with me or something like that. Which
I mean, he did have a collection of photos of them pre
we'll
and
get there.
post-mortem.
We'll get there, Nia.
That's what I was gonna ask. Like, did he get from camera? Like,
He had a Polaroid.
he had Polaroid?
Yeah.
Okay, that's not.
Like a Polaroid.
No, this is not appropriate.
I mean, we're going to hell anyway.
We're already going.
We've already made the list. 2 months after killing Doxtator, by now it's March 24th, 1988, Dahmer met 22-year-old Richard Guerrero outside of a gay bar called The Phoenix. Guerrero was bisexual, and Dahmer had offered him $50 to simply spend the night, as we said before, which never fall into that trap, ladies and gentlemen. I feel like it's like when they say, just the tip.
Yeah.
It's like, no.
It's never just a tip.
It's never just spend the night with me.
Nope.
It's always like,
Spend the night and give me toffee.
or spend the night and
let me murder
have
you.
my dick stab your back like all night.
very least.
At the very least. Exactly. Or let me stab you.
That's why you never go over someone's house when they actually come over.
Exactly. Unless you like them and you're willing.
Meet at a public place, guys.
Yeah,
Thank
for
you.
first
Public
dates.
place.
Let your friends know.
Yes.
Send your location.
Text them the entire time.
Have them on FaceTime in your pocket.
Why not?
But of course, we all know that this was a damn lie, and Dahmer drugged Guerrero, strangled him with a leather strap, and then sucked his dick while he was dead. Just so y'all know.
Okay, so I'm a biology
confusion.
question now.
Thank you.
Is that where you're gonna go?
Is it up?
Dick was still hard.
Yeah,
like, it was hard in the
supposedly
first
it
place,
does.
and then it stayed up.
So, like, apparently, we touched on this, like, in the last episode.
Yeah.
I think after a certain, like, between maybe the first couple hours of being dead, they're still able to be stimulated.
You have a grace period.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
So, this time, Dahmer did not wait a week to dismember the bodies like his usual ritual, and he actually dismembered him that same day within 24 hours. 1 month later, on April 19th, 1988, Dahmer lured yet another young man to his house, gave him some laced coffee, but his grandma called down to him before he could kill the unsuspecting victim, and he opted not to kill the man. Instead, he drove him to the hospital while he was semi-conscious. This whole time, Dahmer was living at his grandma's house. But his grandma had grown fed up with his shenanigans, like bringing young men to the house, and the foul smell that emanated from the basement and the garage.
He was literally decapitating.
Yes.
What the hell?
Yeah.
Bathtubs, right?
Yeah. And then he kept the bodies for like a week. But, I think, if I'm not confusing him with another case, they said that he used to keep the bodies because he would, like, sleep next to them and shit like that.
That's once he lived alone. Yeah, in his grandma's house, he would just, like, dismember them and then, like...
stuff them places.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so then she kicked him out.
Okay. So, on September 25th of 1988, Dahmer moved into his one-bedroom apartment on North 25th Street. I don't know what city that was. Is it still Milwaukee?
Yeah, let's go with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On March 25th of 1989, Dahmer murdered his fifth victim, 24-year-old aspiring model Anthony Sears. Sears was mixed race because, Dahmer had a type. Ethnic people was the only thing that he liked.
Exactly.
He liked the swirl. Sorry.
Too late, Ashley. You problematic bitch.
I'm just gonna go again.
Dahmer has a type. All right, so in this case, Dahmer claimed he was not looking for another victim that night. It was just so happened that Sears came up to him and struck up a conversation, and poor Dahmer just couldn't help himself.
Which, yeah, I mean,
I guess he was fine. So Dahmer continued his usual killing rituals with Sears, but Dahmer found Sears
exceptionally
attractive. And this was where Dahmer started preserving body parts other than skulls. Dahmer placed Sears' head and genitalia in acetone and stored it in his work locker. See how I pronounce acetone? Disclaimer, conflicting info.
Yeah, we found, I was doing the research, and so there's, some references as to him moving out, getting that apartment, and then, almost instantly, within the first couple weeks of living there, he has to move back to his grandma's house. But then they, say that he moves back to that same complex. Oh. So it just didn't make sense, so let's just,
scratch that.
Let's forget
just FYI, I did Google it just now. His apartment was in Milwaukee.
Okay.
And it's permanently closed.
I'd hope so.
Probably makes sense.
I'd hope
I'm
so.
sure the smell never got out of that place.
Y'all want to do, a seance there one day?
No, I'm good.
There's not enough stage in the world.
So, May of 1990, Dahmer kills his sixth victim, 32-year-old Raymond Smith. Raymond was a sex worker as well. Dahmer lured Smith into his apartment and promised $50 for the exchange of sex. That's kind of cheap, ain't it?
It's 1990. Wasn't $50 way more back in the day?
Probably. After killing Smith in his usual manner, Dahmer purchased a Polaroid camera and took several pictures of Smith's corpse in suggestive positions. After the photo shoot, Dahmer dismembered Smith's body in the bathroom, boiled his legs, arms, and pelvis in a steel kettle with Soilex, the same stuff he used before. And at this point, he realized bleach would make the bones brittle, so he stopped using it. The remains of Smith were dissolved in acid in an acid-filled container, and Dahmer spray-painted Smith's skull and placed it next to Anthony Spears' skull, where he kept it.
Which he still kept. We don't know.
Pink.
I feel like it's black. Guy. I feel like it was black.
He was a fun-loving guy.
It's a fun-loving guy. I don't think Dahmer liked pink. I feel like Dahmer didn't like...
pretty punk rock, I think. So maybe more like purple. Like a dark purple.
I feel like we'll get into this later, but he was building an altar, and it was black with touches of blue lights. So, what if it was silver?
Oh, that would have gone well with the blue lights.
Are you guys decorating his apartment or something? This is not HGTV.
Yo, HGTV Dahmer edition.
All right.
Watch that.
Right?
I'd watch that.
So the acid-filled containers that he put them in, these are the blue ones that he's famous for having in his house, right? All right. So just 1 week later, Dahmer lured another young man into his home, but this time Dahmer accidentally drank the laced drink, and when he woke up, found his intended victim had stolen clothing and a watch and $300.
Which is like, go ahead.
That's what you
Go
get,
ahead, my
nigga.
boy.
At the very least, is what you get.
Exactly. Like, he didn't, like, look at the skulls or, like, the vat of acid in the background. He didn't peek into it.
My thing is, like, I'm thinking about, like, the cartoons when they pour something in the drink and you give them the wrong drink, or like they spin the thing
They keep
around
turning it back and forth.
give them the wrong drink. Come on.
But remember, during, like, this whole thing, he's drunk out of his mind the entire time.
This man drugged himself.
In June of 1990, Dahmer kills his seventh victim, Edward Smith. But this time, Dahmer didn't boil the remains in Soilex or put them in acid. Dahmer placed it in a freezer for several months, thinking this would keep the body from retaining moisture.
Which, I had a question here. Does that mean he thought it would, like, dry it out?
I think he's just experimenting.
Maybe he was trying to freeze dry it?
Because, like, his goal is to just keep the skeleton, I feel like.
Yeah.
And get rid of the flesh.
Without it rotting all over the place.
Exactly. But it's, yeah, okay.
So when he realized it didn't work, he took it out the freezer, put it in acid, and then he proceeded to place the skull in the oven to dry it out. But it exploded. Oh, God.
Imagine cleaning that.
Oh, God.
Imagine wanting to cook in there again.
Yeah,
If you have a pizza.
That's like one of the questions that actually,
What you gonna do if you're
like, do you feel like Dahmer just ate regular food?
No.
Or he just kept it to, like,
He always sprinkled a bit of human on everything.
Oh, come on.
He just,
flakes?
yeah.
Oh, Ed Juice Smith. Ew.
Oh, my God.
There were no trophies left from Edward Smith, so he probably ate his whole body. And
No, it all got destroyed.
in police interviews after he was arrested, Dahmer claimed to feel rotten about Smith's murder since he hadn't been able to retain any of his parts.
Which,
Wait, so that's when he feels bad?
That's
He
what I'm
can't
saying.
Keep a dick or a face? Or something?
exactly. So, like, was his whole, like, what is it, motivating factor the trophies? Because it's like he the only time he feels anything is when he's not able to retain a trophy. Is that, like, the objective, or is that, like, his prize?
You think
at
the objective is to feel something?
No, I feel like he does this for a reason. Is this his reason? Like, are the trophies his reason? Because why feel bad
I think
this time?
I think he just wanted to keep something. Like he had a good time raping and dismembering, and there's nothing to show for it now.
That's true. That's true.
I mean, why do most serial killers keep trophies though?
To remember it, like
Yeah.
they jerk off to it later.
Exactly. Like, did y'all hear about this? What is it? The Golden State Killer? So one of the things that apparently he did, like, while he entered the house and raped the people was, like, put like a blanket over lights or any type of, like, light that would come in. He would, like, try and cover it to, like, have, like, this little creepy glow in the room. So
Like,
when
set
they
the mood.
literally set the mood. So when they entered his home, like, just a couple months ago, and now he's like 80 years old or something, he had blankets over all the lamps, computer, and everything, so that when you, like, it was dark, it would just be like a slight glow, just like
That's
he did to the victims
creepy.
while he raped them. Yes.
That's creepy.
Whoa. Okay.
Fun fact.
So
Wait, just imagine like being like you're trying to just fix something in the house, or being like the cable guy and walking in and all of the lamps are covered in this weird eerie glow. No, I'm quitting. I'm quitting right now.
all right, so back to Dahmer here. So 3 months after Edward Smith's murder, Dahmer found his eighth victim, 22-year-old Ernest Miller, around the corner from his house. Dahmer offered him $50 to follow him back to his place and let him listen to his heart and stomach.
Which would be like a what the fuck moment if this wasn't Dahmer. But it's
And
Dahmer, so.
his consistent, he's always paying people $50 for everything.
Yeah. I think
Like,
that
why
was his
50?
budget. He was really good with his budget. Yeah. It's like, I can only afford
And-
50 per, like, victim.
Well, but in the end, he'd always get the $50
It's the same
back.
thing.
It's the same one!
He's a finesser. The
You think that $50
every
bill is
time.
rotating around right now?
Okay, why would you do that? Like, I could have paid for my groceries with Dahmer's killer $50 bill.
This is why I don't pay with cash.
Holy shit.
So Dahmer attempted to suck Miller's dick again. What's up with him sucking dicks?
Well, he liked it. He liked to please his victim. All right, I'm sorry.
No.
Dahmer attempted to give Miller toffee, but Miller informed him that would be extra. Okay. He was like, I'm not no cheap.
Respect yourself.
I'm not cheap. Shit. So Dahmer did what Dahmer did best and laced Miller's drink. But this time...
But fuck this thing no matter what.
Suck your dick.
Sorry.
You were trying to shush me 2 minutes ago, Ashley.
You gonna let me suck your dick.
Pause.
Oh, come on.
All right. So he laced his drink, but this time he only had 2 pills. So he slashed Miller's artery. Corroded? Okay. Yeah, that artery with a knife, and that he used to fillet his victims. Miller bled out almost instantaneously, but then Dahmer proceeded to pose the corpse in subjective positions and pull out his Polaroid. Mm-hmm. After the photo shoot, Dahmer placed Miller's body in the bathtub to dismember it. While doing so, Dahmer talked and made out with Miller's severed head. Mm-hmm. After dismembering it,
I'm laughing at the part you said talk to it.
Like what was he saying?
Like what
you
was
so
he
fine.
saying? You got a pretty face. Your body over there.
Look at it. It's so sexy.
Jesus.
So he made out with the head, and then after just dismembering Miller, he placed the heart, bicep, legs, and pieces of the flesh into a plastic bag, and then into the freezer to eat it later. Probably with a side of fava beans.
Oh.
Ugh.
Why specifically those?
Beans.
That's
Is
from
that a joke?
movie.
Oh. Whoa.
Killed my whole body.
Too deep. Pause.
It needs to be stopped.
Can't stop, won't stop. Okay.
Can I finish?
Just keep going.
So he also did the same boiling procedure as he did with the other ones, and later painted the skull and coated it with enamel.
So this is his thing now. Like he's painting skulls instead of bleaching them or putting them in the oven.
He's still like boiling them.
Okay.
To like take all the flesh out. There's still Soilex involved in this.
He's just not bleaching them.
No, he stopped that a while back.
He discovered that bleach will destroy
Makes
the
it too
bone.
brittle.
Exactly.
And he's spray painting them.
But now he's up the ante and put enamel on them.
For shine.
It's shine.
Yes.
Exactly.
Shiny.
Presentation.
Goes to a serial killer show and tell.
And these are my skulls.
I remember them fondly.
I put my dick in all of them.
Oh my god!
Didn't he? No.
Problematic light.
He did, but it was just funny.
It was just the way you said it.
Like, come on. If Dahmer and Kemper were friends,
I feel like they should have been friends.
They should have been.
they should not have been friends. That would have been terrible.
No, they would have been like, but like in jail once they're like away from society. Don't you feel like they should have talked to each
There's
other?
people in jail who don't deserve that.
This is true.
Okay, so on September 24th of 1990, Dahmer killed his 9th victim. But this time, things went a little bit different. Dahmer invited the 22-year-old David Thomas. After he drugged David per usual, Dahmer realized he wasn't attracted to him, but knowing that David might be angry,
And rightfully so.
he woke up and realized he had been drugged. Dahmer strangled him and dismembered the body, but did not keep any trophies this time since he wasn't attracted to the guy.
That's gotta suck.
For who?
It's like, damn, you think I'm ugly? You could just let me go, bro. So after killing David Thomas, Dahmer went into an almost 5-month hiatus.
But the killing
Russian.
But the killing season would resume in February of 1991. Dahmer offers 17-year-old Curtis Straughter money in exchange for posing for nudes again. Dahmer, of course, killed, dismembered Straughter, photographing each stage. He kept Straughter's skull, hands, and genitals.
Come on. So he's 31 now. He's a grown-ass man. Still killing teenagers.
That was like his thing. Very young boys. So Dahmer's been killing and dismembering men for like 4 years now. And I'm just going to assume that this whole like little ritual of his is getting old. Like, I'm getting tired of it, of reading of like the same ritual over and over again. And there's no way that dismembering, dissecting, filleting, dissolving bodies is like quick and effortless. Like, this has to take time. And plus, he has a full-time job. He's still working at that chocolate factory. So let's not forget that his whole objective here and his motivation, kind of, we're still trying to figure that out, from the beginning was to have a completely submissive and unconscious partner. So that leads up to his 11th victim, 19-year-old Errol Lindsay, and Dahmer followed his same, like, little, what was that word we used before? Modus operandi?
Yep, MO.
Yes, as usual, which, let's be honest, 11 victims later is getting old, like I said before. This time, Dahmer doesn't kill Lindsay immediately. Instead, he drilled a hole into his still alive victim, poured hydrochloric acid into the hole, and it was kind of like, I feel like he wanted to make like a sex slave zombie.
Yeah,
so conscious but unconscious, but still there, but not there, but still warm, but not there.
Yeah, because he didn't want to necessarily kill them. He just wanted them to be his. They wanted him to sit still, and he wanted them to be his sex slave.
Yeah, and do whatever it was he wanted.
Yeah,
while still being warm and not dead and stinky. But Lindsay woke up, stating, "I have a headache. What time is it?" Which, you have a fucking hole in your head. A headache is like a really
simplified.
Exactly. So Dahmer drugged Lindsay once again, strangled him, and he followed his usual dismembering ritual. But this time he skinned the body. He tried to preserve the skin by putting it in a mixture of cold water and salt. But after several weeks, the skin became too brittle, and Dahmer had to get rid of it, sadly for him. So we're going to go off track here just for a little bit. We're going to go back a couple years. So this specific incident we're going to touch on happened in 1988. And as y'all can recall from before, he got kicked out of his grandmother's house in 1988. And one day after moving into his apartment, he was actually arrested for drugging and molesting a 13-year-old boy. Now, there are different accounts as to where this happened. Some say it happened in the apartment complex. Others say it happened at that chocolate factory he was working at. But ultimately, Dahmer was convicted of second-degree sexual assault, enticing a child for immoral purposes, and he was sentenced to 5 years probation and 1 year at the, quote, House of Correction, which I don't know if that's a halfway house or, jail or anything like that. It's kind of weird because he was granted a work release permit, and he could, go out. So it's weird. He was also required to register as a sex offender. So we're going to come back to present time, May 26, 1991, Dahmer finds 14-year-old Conorak Synthasamphone. I don't know. So he again uses the let me take you back to my house for a photo shoot line. And as it turns out, Conorak was the younger brother of the boy that Dahmer had molested in 1988. Oh, what a small fucking world.
Full circle.
Yeah, I remember that.
Full fucking circle. So Dahmer again...
Wait. What the fuck are these parents doing if both their kids keep getting...
Don't blame the parents.
But...
So where were the parents?
Exactly.
Both of your kids?
I think it's we're allowed to ask this question.
All right.
Okay, well, Dahmer again tried his little sex zombie experiment and injected Conorak with hydrochloric acid, but somehow Conorak was still not completely unconscious. He was still conscious. So Dahmer then walked him to the bedroom where the naked and decomposing body of his 12th victim, Tony Hughes, still laid. And it had been laying there for 3 days. So it was fucking disgusting. Bloated, to say the least. So now Dahmer would later recall that Conorak probably must have seen the body but wasn't able to react because of the fucking hole in his head. So Dahmer laid Conorak on his bed and left to go out to the bar to drink. Hours. What? So many questions. So hours later.
Sorry.
Yeah. No, go ahead.
There's a corpse.
There's a corpse on the floor.
An eventual corpse.
And a still alive, semi-conscious boy in the same room.
And he's like, all right, you guys
have fun.
I'll be right back.
Keep each other company.
Too sober for this.
Basically. He was overwhelmed.
Jesus.
So hours later, in the wee hours of May 27th, Dahmer was walking back home from the bar and discovered Konarak sitting naked on the street. So Konarak was murmuring something in Laotian. He was surrounded by 3 young women who were clearly worried and distressed. Dahmer approached them and explained that Konarak was actually his friend and he was just trying to take the boy back to his house. The women stopped Dahmer, notifying him that they had called 911. 2 officers, John Balsarzak or Balsack, and
we're going to say Balsack.
We're going to say Balsack. And Joseph Gabrish, piece of shit, responded to the call. Dahmer very calmly explained to the officers that Konarak was actually 19 years old and he was his boyfriend. But he was 14, so we can just assume that the kid looked 14, maybe younger.
But I'm sure they didn't care because, he wasn't...
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that he had drank one too many after a fight and that this was not unusual behavior when he was drunk.
He's 19, it's not the drinking age.
Yeah.
I feel like... Oh, no, this is the 90s. Never mind.
But I think it was really... Because I remember from one of the documentaries, it was really just because they were gay, so they just wrote it off because they were gay.
Well, he claimed that they were gay.
And B...
the kid was Lao, from Lao.
And yeah, so it's a minority. We know they don't care about that. And gay people...
And it's Milwaukee.
They don't care about that. So they kind of just like, well, here's another bunch of bleepity bleeps here doing whatever. So just let them go. They probably didn't take any seriousness to it.
So one of the women quickly challenged Dahmer's account, stating that Konarak was bleeding from his butt and that he had struggled against Dahmer. Remember, he had been raped and all that.
Yeah.
Against Dahmer when he first approached them. He was completely naked. And let's not forget he had a fucking hole in the middle of his head.
Okay.
Because, he poured it into his frontal lobe, which means it was right in the front of his head.
Did he have bangs? I'm just thinking about, I'm trying to...
No, there's no justifying. So then the so-called police officers told the young women to butt out and shut the hell up.
Jeez.
Yeah, because, these women folk don't know what they're talking about.
Exactly. How dare they question the police officers?
I wonder where they are now. These
I hope they're dead.
Keep going.
All right, so the piece of shit cops then covered Konarak in a towel and walked him back to Dahmer's apartment. Once at Dahmer's house, the shit cops simply poked their heads into the bedroom where the body was laying, and then they just later stated that it just smelled like shit in there. But I feel like they were just so used to their own shitty smells. Because they were shit cops.
But again, like I mentioned on other episodes, it's just the smell of decomposing bodies is a very distinct smell that officers know. So you need to tell me.
Or how many, was there not enough murders?
But it's not to be on their side, but it's like if you walked by a house and you smelled something, you wouldn't be like, that's a decomposing body if you've never smelled one.
But they went inside.
Yeah.
I think
it wasn't they just walked past.
I think that if there was a young-looking boy bleeding from a couple of places, talking
with the hole in his
nonsense, I'm just gonna give some benefit of the doubt.
Exactly.
This kid was wearing bangs and can't see an actual physical hole in the head, because then it's what the hell? What is your job? You have one job, and just make sure that the kid with the hole in the head gets to the hospital.
Why we're calling them shit cops.
Jesus.
Because they weren't shit. So once the cops left, Dahmer once again injected Konarak with hydrochloric acid. This time it proved to be fatal. He took off work the next day to take care of both bodies that he had in his house.
Responsibilities.
Exactly. Priorities here. Yeah. Just 2 days later, on June 30th, Dahmer took a trip to Chicago where he met 20-year-old Matt Turner at a bus station. Dahmer took Turner back to his Milwaukee apartment for another photo shoot. Turner was treated in the same way everyone else was. 5 days later, Dahmer was back in Chicago. This time he met 23-year-old Jeremiah Weinberger, who he took back to his apartment in Milwaukee. This time, instead of injecting hydrochloric acid into Weinberger's brain, he injected him with boiling water, sending him into an instant coma, and God knows what Dahmer did with him for 2 days before he died while he was in that coma. I bet that was his
dream.
Exactly. He
success.
Got everything that he wanted. Mm-hmm. So obviously, during this whole time, Dahmer is living in a small 1-bedroom apartment in a complex. So next door neighbors and everything. The walls were not soundproof. They were definitely not odor resistant. So his neighbors repeatedly complained to the complex manager about the foul smells, loud thumps, and the occasional chainsaw noises that came from Dahmer's apartment.
I mean,
chainsaw though, and nothing happens.
I mean, what the fuck?
I get notices when I cook strong odored smell, like foods. Like, I know when my West Indian neighbors are cooking every day. So if they were dismembering bodies, like, on a weekly basis, monthly basis.
Exactly.
I fucking know some shit.
So you haven't made friends with these neighbors yet? I'm just saying. Because...
You're thinking about food at a time like this.
You said West Indian food, so I'm just saying.
It might not be good, Nia. They may not know how to cook. Dahmer initially excused these odors, which emanated from his apartment, as being caused by his freezer breaking, which caused all his food to rot. On later occasions, he claimed that the reason for the resurgence of the odor was that several of his tropical fish had recently died. Which, how big are these fish? Like, you got a whole aquarium in here?
I've had dead fish before. They don't start smelling like that fast. Like, bruh, you just take them and throw them away or flush them. Like, so even let's say he wasn't killing bodies, you still lack the ability to clean up when shit goes wrong, because it takes a while for that shit to. Go ahead.
Why is that his first excuse? That's all he got?
Yeah, that's very
best you got?
It's Dahmer. Are we really it's Dahmer? So on July 15th, Dahmer finds 24-year-old Oliver Lacey not far from his apartment. Again, he uses the same photo shoot story. He tries to prolong his time with Lacey this time, using chloroform to keep him unconscious, but this doesn't work as long as he had hoped it would. So he strangles him and does what Dahmer knows how to do best. 4 days later, he gets fired from his job and immediately goes out and finds 25-year-old Joseph Braidhoft, takes him back to his apartment, kills him, and leaves the body on his bed, covered with a sheet for 2 whole days. When he takes the sheet off a couple days later, he finds the head is covered in maggots.
Oh.
So he disposes of it in the same way he usually does.
So, I mean, that's when he drew the line.
He
when
was
it
like,
had maggots
yeah,
on
he
it.
was like, it's filthy, not worthy of my touching.
So, let's get into Dahmer's arrest. On July 22nd, Dahmer approached 3 men and offers them $100. Oh, he's stepping his money up.
He said 3. I can spare another 50.
He said, y'all got a 3 for 2 deal here?
Buy 2, get 1 free?
Right.
If they're splitting it 3 ways, he's getting a deal out of the situation.
So he offers him $100 to go back to his place to pose for nudes, drinks, and keep him company. Only one dumbass agreed. Myra, why'd you put that in the notes?
I didn't write that. Nia, why would you try and put that on me?
Problematic.
How dare you? Come on now.
So only one person agreed. It was 32-year-old.
Only one victim agreed.
Right, I was reading this all like, I'm like, oh shit, what did I just
He's
say?
not dead though. So can we use dumbass?
No.
No, never mind. Okay, I'm done.
So 32-year-old Tracy Edward agreed. As soon as they got to Dahmer's apartment, Edward notices the foul smell because apparently his nose works, and sees boxes on boxes of
hydrochloric.
Yep, acid. Once settled in, Dahmer tricks Edward into turning.
Why does he have boxes? He just had like a lifetime supply.
Yeah,
that should.
He had a
trigger
Costco's
something
membership.
From somebody.
You
Well,
would
the
think.
90s maybe.
He worked at a chocolate factory. I'm sure they used it.
There's like chocolate factories use
To
that?
clean it, maybe.
But this is
Because
why
they use it to clean stuff.
cases like this is why they pay attention to certain things now. Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah, that's true.
Sometimes.
So once settled in, Dahmer tricks Edwards into turning his head and quickly places handcuffs on one of his wrists.
Look over there.
Oh, what is that over there?
Is that a spider? So Dahmer tricks Edwards.
Did you look?
Dahmer.
So sorry. So sorry.
You're not sorry.
Please just keep going.
Dahmer tells Edwards to follow him into the bedroom for a photo shoot. When they get into the bedroom, Edwards notices the nude male posters on the wall and The Exorcist 3 playing in the background.
Wait, just talk about setting the damn mood.
That's a mood.
I'm about to give me some. Let me put on something real creepy.
Definitely. Let me slip into something more comfortable.
He also noticed the not-so-concealed 57-gallon drum in the corner, which smelled like dead bodies. Between the time Dahmer whips out his knife...
Between this time.
Yep. Whips out his knife and tells Edward it's time for the photos. Edward tries to convince Dahmer to put the knife away, but instead Dahmer turns his attention to the TV and starts rocking back and forth while chanting.
To The Exorcist.
What?
Whatever was on TV.
He turned to Edwards, pressing his head against Edward's chest to listen to his heartbeat, and with the knife pressed against his chest, Dahmer tells Edwards he's going to eat his heart. Oh my God. So Edwards tries to change the subject and tells Dahmer he's a friend and he didn't have anything to worry about and that he wouldn't run away. And because Edward had a plan to try to get away. So Edward asked Dahmer to use the restroom, at which point he saw his one and only chance to get away. So he punched Dahmer in the face and ran out the door.
Go on.
Edwards then flagged down the Milwaukee police. Edwards still had a handcuff around his wrist and told the cops the freak, quote unquote, about the freak that had placed.
This is quoted. I didn't put this in there. Don't judge me.
A little bit of a freak.
That had places. I'm sorry. He told him about the freak, quote unquote, that had put the cuffs on him. The cops tried to take the cuff off, but with no avail, so the genius cops suggested going back to Dahmer's apartment to retrieve the correct key. When they arrive, Dahmer invites them in and admits to putting the cuffs on Edwards, but did not offer any explanation. Dahmer tells the cops that the key is in the nightstand, realizing he had said too much, and he attempted to pass one of the officers to retrieve the key himself, but the second cop told him to back off. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because you can't get too close to him like that.
But he was white. They weren't going to shoot him.
Naturally. Even the Burger King. Sorry, I'm still
Touche, Ashley. Damn.
So once in the bedroom, Officer Rolf Mueller noticed the large knife under the bed and also took a peek at one of the open drawers in the nightstand. The drawers contained Polaroid pictures of corpses in different stages of dismemberment. Mueller very quickly realized he was standing in the very same room as these pictures of as the same rooms as the place where the pictures were taken. Officer Mueller walked out of the bedroom into the living room where his partner Robert Roth was and showed him the pictures, telling him these are real.
These are for real. That's a direct quote.
All right. Dahmer realized what Mueller had in his hands and tried to flee, but was overpowered by the officers and backed up according to his request immediately. While backup arrived, Mueller opened up the fridge and saw the freshly severed head of a black man.
They didn't specify whose head it was.
Of course they did.
That was the only,
Because I think some of his victims, they did not know who they were.
No, they knew who they were. It's just like, I guess they didn't really specify the race of all of them. So there was multiple. I mean, there was more than one black guy that he had killed.
Yeah, because he had a
thing. Like Ashley said, if y'all didn't remember.
I don't mind that.
So a thorough search of the apartment revealed 4 severed heads in the kitchen, 7 skulls in the bedroom closet. Some were painted and some were bleached. 2 human hearts, a piece of an arm muscle in the fridge, blood drippings on the bottom tray of the fridge. In the freezer, they discovered an entire torso, a bag of human giblets. What the fuck exactly are giblets?
It's like like organs. You know when you get a turkey, the giblets are inside?
Yeah, but it's not just any organ. It's like a specific...
No, there's not a specific organ called a giblet.
So a giblet is just like...
Guts.
A word for it all.
Guts.
Gotcha.
I added it for comedic effect, bitches.
Sorry.
We're cracking up. It was fucking disgusting.
I really thought giblets were like an organ specific to like a bird. I didn't really...
Shit, they might be. That might be wrong. Well...
Okay, so he found a
joke
bag
still
of...
stands.
So he found a bag of human organs and flesh stuck into the ice on the bottom of the freezer. In the apartment itself, 2 entire skeletons, severed hands, 2 severed and preserved penises, and a mummified scalp of a corpse in a 57-gallon drum. 3 full torsos were dissolved in acid, and 74 Polaroid pics detailing the dismemberment of the victims were found. Chief medical examiner said it was more like dismantling someone's museum than an actual crime scene.
Which, how much would you pay to see that?
Listen. Okay. So this is going to be very problematic.
Oh, go ahead. Yes, I love it. Go ahead.
I'd fucking pay money to at least, like...
Sniff?
No. No. I at least want to see, like, the pictures or, like, you know, like, just,
I feel
poke my head
Nia
in.
sent me a link not long ago of, like, actual pictures of the apartment.
I saw pictures online before, like, when I saw the movie, like, you know, Jeffrey Dahmer. Like, I did some research, like, back then, and I saw pictures of the apartment itself.
But the apartment didn't look too bad, right?
No, because they took all the shit out. But, like,
that's true.
But, like, when the police officers were there, to just, like, poke my head and be like, oh, this shit is fucked up. Yeah. Like, I would pay money for that. I would. And I'm not.
Because, like, the link that Nia sent me, she said there was, like, like, one of the pictures showed, like, one of the dismembered corpses or something like that. But I didn't open it because... As much as I want to see it, I don't want to see it as well. But I do, but I don't.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we're going to get into the confession, trial, and death of Dahmer. So when asked as to why he had preserved the 7 skulls and the entire skeletons of Ernest Miller and Oliver Lacey, Dahmer stated that he had been in the process of constructing a private altar for his victims, which he had intended to adorn upon the black table located in his living room. The display of the skulls was to be adorned at each side with the complete skeletons that he had. He planned to place incense sticks at each end of the black table, place a large blue lamp and blue globe lights over said table. The altar would be placed in front of a window, which was to be covered with a black shower curtain, and he intended to sit right in front of it in his black leather chair. Direct quote from Dahmer: "The altar was dedicated to myself. It was a place where I could feel at home, a place for meditation." Meditation.
So
yes.
where were the dicks going to be placed in this?
In his hand.
In his hand. Yeah.
In his mouth.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Why did you ask?
Meditation.
In his bedside drawer.
Yeah.
Oh, in his bedside drawer. Maybe he did keep it in his room.
I mean, that's where most people keep their
dildo.
Okay.
Nia?
Jeez.
What you trying to say?
Safari got a dick on the market.
All right, this is off topic, ma'am.
I mean, you could buy Safari.
Shit, someone's excited over that.
No, I'm not.
Okay.
That thing is
Check
scary.
your emails.
That shit is scary.
You got that pre-order. So Dahmer began being questioned on July 23rd of 1991. Detectives conducted numerous interviews totaling 60 hours. Dahmer waived his right to a lawyer, stating, "I created this horror and it only makes sense. I do everything to put an end to it." He confessed to all 17 murders without any trouble. Dahmer went on to explain his increased rate of killing during the last 2 months of his reign of horror. He stated that he was completely swept along. It was an incessant and never-ending desire to be with someone at whatever cost. Someone good-looking, really nice-looking. It just filled my thoughts all day long. Which, I mean, Tinder would have solved all that, I feel like.
This made it a lot worse.
This was a long time ago before everyone had computers in their house, so I don't think...
Tinder, he would have been like, yeah, I'll take all of it, all of the above. It'd have been like his Grubhub. Like,
my God!
It'd have been so bad. That'd have been like his Uber Eats.
Oh my God.
For murder.
Uber Eats. Sponsor us. So on July 25th in 1991, Dahmer was charged with 4 counts of murder. By August 22nd, he was charged with another 11 murders. And on September 14th, Ohio investigators uncovered hundreds of bone fragments in the woods behind his house, where he had lived alone as a teenager. The human remains were identified by 2 molars and a vertebrae. They matched Stephen Mark Hicks, his very first victim. And 3 days later, Dahmer was charged by authorities in Ohio with the murder of Stephen Hicks. January 13th of 1992, Dahmer pled guilty, but insane, to 15 counts of murder. He was not charged with Stephen Tuomi's death, since the Milwaukee DA could only charge him if the murder could be proven beyond a reasonable doubt. But remember, Dahmer had no memory of actually killing Tuomi, and there was no physical evidence because the body was dissolved. The trial began on January 30th of 1992. Now, the trial wasn't to prove whether or not Dahmer was guilty, but rather it was to determine whether his insanity plea was true. The prosecution, of course, claimed that these alleged mental disorders did not stop Dahmer from knowing what he was doing was wrong, and did not stop him from resisting his so-called impulses. A forensic psychiatrist testifying for the defense stated that Dahmer did not actually... testifying for the prosecution, stated that Dahmer did not actually suffer from primary necrophilia, since by his own account, he preferred live victims. He just wanted them to be unresisting and completely submissive. Another expert testified that Dahmer was calculating and carefully planned his murders in advance, and as a result, was not impulsive. This is a quote. He went to great lengths to be alone with his victims and have no witnesses. He also touched on the fact that Dahmer had to get completely fucked up before finding his victims and killing them. This is another quote. If he had a compulsion to kill, he would not have to drink alcohol. He had to drink alcohol to overcome his inhibition. To do the crime, he would rather not do. One of the prosecution experts did diagnose Dahmer with substance disorder, paraphilia, schizotypal personality disorder.
But that's your initial point that, he might have had some of these diseases or some of these mental disorders, but that does not excuse what it did, and it does not warrant, what he, it wasn't the reason why he did what he did.
And not only that, but, for a lot of his victims, it's not like everything happened within, 1 hour.
Right.
He had the bodies for a very long time.
Right.
And it took him a very long time to do this. So it's at what point... if you say, oh, it was impulsive, okay, maybe killing him was impulsive, but what about, the dismembering, boiling, and all that shit? That's a reach, my boy. Obviously, the defense said the complete opposite and testified that Dahmer has every disorder under the sun. They literally listed, 20 different types of disorders. There were 2 court-appointed health professionals who were basically Switzerland in this case because they were completely independent and they weren't testifying for the prosecution or for the defense. One of them stated that Dahmer was killing as a result of pent-up aggression with himself. He wanted to kill these men because they were the source of his homosexual attractions. By killing them, he killed what he hated in himself. The second health professional stated that Dahmer longed for companionship and that the need and longing drove him to kill. But 17 times. This guy spoke kindly of Dahmer, describing him as amiable, pleasant to be with, courteous, good sense of humor, handsome, and charming. Which I feel like he just had him wrapped around his finger. I mean, he was kind of okay. The trial lasted 2 weeks, and on February 15th of 1992, Dahmer was ruled sane and not suffering from any mental disorders at the time of the murders. Dahmer was sentenced to 15 life sentences and then extradited to Ohio to stand trial for the murder of Stephen Hicks. And the whole hearing lasted 45 minutes, and he was sentenced to his 16th life sentence.
Yeah.
Which is at what point is it all right, you serve the first one, now you serve the second one, now you serve the third one? What?
Yeah.
I don't know how that works.
So... his prison life and then death. So Dahmer was transferred to the Columbia Correctional Institution in Wisconsin. For the first year of his incarceration, Dahmer was placed in solitary confinement due to concerns for his physical safety. Which, wouldn't you be more concerned with the other people around him? Not necessarily him?
You would think he would be the scariest thing, but probably not.
But it's you should still...
The nature of the crimes, sometimes depending on the nature of the crimes, his fellow people will retaliate. Just like a lot of people, if they are like child molesters and stuff like that, they keep them out of Gym Pop because Gym Pop will.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. But still, I feel like I'd be more scared of being with Dahmer than Dahmer being, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So after 1 year, he was sent to a less secure unit and assigned to a 2-hour work detail scrubbing toilets. Dahmer became a born-again Christian while in prison because, you know, surprise, surprise. Yeah. On the morning of November 28th, 1994, Dahmer was on his way to scrub more toilets with fellow inmates Jesse Anderson and Christopher Scarver. Dahmer was discovered on the floor of the gym bathroom suffering from extreme head and facial wounds just 20 minutes after being left alone with him. And it turns out that he had been repeatedly hit with a 20-inch metal bar. Dahmer was still alive when transferred to the hospital, but was later pronounced dead just 1 hour later.
See? That's why they put him in a...
And that was the end.
The end of Dahmer.
And that was the Jeffrey Dahmer case, finally.
Woo.
Hooray!
As much as I already knew about Dahmer, there was a lot of research and information in there that I did not know.
Like what?
There was a lot of stuff. So, like, I don't think I knew all of the sort of quasi-military stuff. Like, I don't think any of the stories that I read or have watched really went into depth there.
Like to what?
Yeah.
Like him actually serving? Or oh, yeah.
Situations. But, yeah.
I feel like that took like probably a back seat as to everything else. Yeah.
Definitely.
But it was wild. It was a great one. I'm tired.
Yeah, it's another long one like last time. That's why I was so exhausted the last one, because I did all the research from the previous one. It was just like, once you got to page 7 of notes, you're like, I can't.
It's like, I'm tired of reading about dismemberment.
I'm so interested to know what his true motivation was, because like you said, like the when he was drugging people and, you know, to have sex with them without them moving, like that's one motivation. But then why the killing the part?
Exactly.
Maybe so he can get away with it. But then why the dismembering?
And why the necrophilia?
And then why the necrophilia? It was a little bit of eating. Like, there's a lot of questions.
A smidge, a bite.
Just a little bite, like a little nibble.
A little nibble.
That just makes me think about, like, on the documentary, one of his neighbors, she was like pissed because she was just like, I've eaten sandwiches from his house. I was just like, damn.
Why would you say that?
Why would you? Did you not smell the house?
Why would you eat in there?
Brings me back to the
Did you not
question:
open
did
the freezer
he eat regular
yourself?
food? I don't think he invited them in, did he?
I think she may have been in his house.
Oh my god. Okay, so here's another thing. Like, imagine you're one of the guys that he's inviting over.
Yeah.
As soon as you step right next to the door, I'd be like, no.
That's how I felt about, what was it, the Cleveland Strangler, the black guy?
Yeah.
Like, he had bodies in the middle of the floor, and like,
it was literally in the middle of the fucking floor.
Just stepping over that. Like,
oh, that's just a deer I killed the other day. It kind of looks like a human, but it's not.
Don't mind that.
We'll talk about that later.
I really feel like either people paid less attention to their surroundings back then, or they just didn't care. They just wanted money that bad.
Maybe they were, yeah.
I do know that in the Cleveland Strangler situation,
they were addicts.
A lot of them were probably already high, so maybe they thought they were maybe tripping. You know, it could have been a number of reasons, but
yeah, this
but
case
that's
is
a good point,
wild.
though. Like a lot of the stories we read about from the 80s and the 90s when it was like wild west for serial killers. But like that's probably why we're so paranoid and so like watching our backs now for the most part.
Which is why it's just not as fun now.
Serial murder.
Yeah, but that's where a lot of like they complain about our generation, how like our kids don't go outside, they are always in the house and things like that, because well, back in the day everybody was getting snatched.
Exactly.
So then people started getting
I definitely don't want my child
a lot more secure about what they do, and so that's why you have kids who play video games all day. They don't want to go outside, but
at least they're not getting fondled out here.
That's a good point.
Yeah. They may not be socially capable of like shit, but you might be raising a serial killer, but at least you won't be.
Well, just love them, hug them. You said this on one of your shows before. Hug your children.
we say that almost every episode.
Tell them you love
It's okay to call them your children.
Don't judge them.
Nope.
Unless they're like a young Dahmer.
Unless they're stripping.
But you judged me earlier for saying
we say judge them, not abandon them. There's a difference, Nia. Don't try and. You said what you said.
I said what I said. All right, y'all.
right.
So we're out of here.
Thank you for joining us. As always, follow us on Twitter, AS Murder Club.
Jess.
Twitter, Antisocial Murder Club.
That's
Instagram, Antisocial Murder Club.
YouTube, Antisocial Murder Club.
Everywhere. Just
Yes.
follow us.
Yes.
Smoke signals.
SOS.
Yeah, so follow us per usual.
Yep.
Myra and I are thinking about starting to do a little bit of live tweeting when it comes to some of the shows that fit the mold of this.
So stay tuned for that.
Yeah,
Give us a 5-star rating.
please
If you don't like us, don't even bother.
walk on by. But yeah, so we will see you next episode.
See you next time.
Bye.
Fuck this shit, I'm out.